All right, hello everyone, and welcome to ShipBob's episode as part of the Summer Session series. So today I'm joined by Hawke Media and our friends at Buffbunny to explore tips to navigate Black Friday and Cyber Monday and scale through the rest of the year. So I'm Krista. I'm a partner manager here at ShipBob. So I work closely with a lot of these guys on the call today, and I will pass it along to Jen to introduce yourself, and then Corey and Cheryl from there.
Thanks so much, Krista. So happy to be here with you guys today. So this is my 13th Black Friday, Cyber Monday in e-com. So I've seen it all. I have been on the brand side, I've been on the agency side, and most recently, I am the VP of Partnerships over at Hawke Media. So very happy to be here. Corey, I'll toss it over to you to intro.
Yeah, so I'm Corey Smith. I'm a managing director here at Hawke Media. I've got about 30 years of all-in experience between media and advertising and web development, and I'm excited to be a part of this conversation to discuss how website optimization and branding all fit together for your Black Friday.
Love it. All right, I guess that means it's my turn. My name is Cheryl. I'm the Chief Operating Officer over at Buffbunny, and we are a women's athletic apparel company. We are obsessed with ensuring that women feel confident in what they wear. Our CEO has this fun saying that while leggings may not change the world, the woman who wears them will. So we really embody that over here, and we are excited for this holiday season.
Awesome. I love that slogan there too, Cheryl. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. So first question I have for you guys is how can brands leverage partners to drive additional holiday revenue? I can start off and then pass it over to whoever wants to jump in. But here at ShipBob, one thing we do is we have relationships with regional and national carriers to make sure orders are going out with the fastest and most affordable option. So we've helped a ton of brands take advantage of these relationships to optimize that holiday fulfillment, in many cases allowing them to extend holiday promotional periods from the 15th or 16th of December to more of the 19th and 20th to December, which can definitely drive significant additional revenue. We have a few brands last year. I think Beach Waver actually was able to add additional $500,000 in sales each day of that additional time. So definitely a way to leverage your shipping partners for additional holiday revenue. And I'll pass it over to Cheryl. How can brands leverage partners to drive additional revenue?
Yeah, we like to start our planning season extremely early. So anyone we want to work with or who's on a wish list, we reach out extremely early because people are planning earlier and earlier every single year. So we start there. And we also truly value those people that we get to work with, or even our sales force and our affiliates. And we want everyone who works with Buffbunny to feel that experience of how much we value the partnerships. That's why we can have so many continued partnerships year after year. But it really starts with that planning and that wish list and having conversations early and jumping in and not waiting.
Totally. It's never too early. I feel like right after the holidays, people are starting for the next year. So
absolutely,
totally agree.
We are for sure.
And how about Jen or Corey?
Yeah, I think, starting early, like Cheryl mentioned, is so important. We're just coming off of the heels of Prime Day. So the holidays have literally kicked off as of July. And a lot of the larger brands that we work with, they're starting to plan, like you said, right after the last holiday cycle has closed out. Because there's a pulse on what inventory has been, moved, the geolocations, all of that. And a lot of customer acquisition happens during that time too. So we're starting to think into loyalty strategy and all of these things, retention strategy, right after the holidays. So really leveraging partnerships for us at Hawke Media, that means looking at our, meta partners, making sure that all the ad campaigns are set up properly for our partners, for our brand partners. That also means looking at like a JV and affiliate strategy, making sure that the entire audience and reach is as expansive and effective as possible. So just making sure everything is like locked and loaded and ready to go to hit the go button. Starting early is so important, especially this year because it's an election year. It's going to be noisy out there in the advertising world. So starting early, leveraging partners, and just getting ahead of it.
I love that. Awesome. Next question I have for the group is, what is the first step to holiday peak prep? What are some of the other key milestones that operators need to keep in mind before Q4? And I'll kind of leave it open to the group if anyone wants to start off on that one.
Yeah, I'd love to step in from a web dev perspective,
Definitely.
and a web optimization perspective. As you think about the goals that you have for your holiday season, the reality is we need that tech to support that. Sometimes some of our technological expectations require a bit more effort. There's from a marketer's perspective, there's not a lot worse than thinking we have everything in the bag and then realizing that the development side is going to require 6 months of work to create our initiative. So we want to make sure that all of those, I like to think of it as a wish list, that we create a wish list of all the things that we want and get all of the stakeholders involved to decide what is the right order of operations and the right timelines. And I think that sometimes, too often, the tech side is pushed down to the bottom of the list. Sometimes it needs to be higher on the list.
Definitely.
For sure.
I love that tip. And Cheryl, how about you?
Yeah, we really start with what is the goal, as you mentioned, like what is the goal of our holiday season? Are we looking just to clear the warehouse? Are we looking in to bring new customers and introduce them to Buffbunny at, those entry-level sales prices? And then we work backwards. We ensure that we're starting way early on all the tech side, and we're working with our tech partners, kind of as Corey mentioned. And then back into marketing. What is our plan to market to hit these goals, right? How are we going to drive that? And how are we working with those we partner with to ensure that we're getting the message out there and we have it clearly and effectively, and also simple enough so it's easy to buy.
Definitely. Need to keep things simple in order to move forward, for sure. At ShipBob, our first kind of step or tip is to look at the data. So within our dashboard, merchants can see all of their fulfillment metrics broken down by channel. And so, whether that's direct to consumer, retail drop shipping, social channels like TikTok or marketplaces, they want to take a look at that. Also look at where most of your customers are located. So you're able to have inventory closer to those customers to mitigate supply chain congestion. So once you kind of have a strong understanding of your data, you can kick off those conversations with manufacturers, kind of like Cheryl said, to ensure you're ready from an inventory perspective. And then, of course, as you get closer to the holidays, you need to identify carrier deadlines. You need to be aware of those and communicate those with your internal staff and also your customers. If they want a certain item before Christmas or before Christmas Eve, you really want to make sure that you've been clear for some time on your website or wherever you're selling from so that they're not caught off guard. All right, and my next question, so keeping costs in check is critical to peak success. So what can brands do to manage costs efficiently during peak season? And Cheryl, I'll kind of start it off with you on this one.
Sure. One of the most cost-effective things we do is if we can plan it out earlier and have less emergencies or rush orders or rush things need to get done, the more success we'll have, the better our team will feel, even on an employee side. So we really, again, I keep hitting it, you can't start planning for the holiday season too early. But that's also looking at do you have enough stock of all your promotional flyers that go into each of your packages? Do you have enough custom packaging? And the less you can reduce rush ordering or even rush getting your ads done and having all that marketing really smoothed out ahead of time to reduce those emergency scenarios, saves a lot on the back end, and not only time and dollars, but also your employees as well.
Definitely. Employees is an important one. How about Jen or Corey?
Yeah, I think, Cheryl's absolutely right with the marketing and making sure advertising is all buttoned up, because keeping customer acquisition costs low and running as many test campaigns that you can right now during the summer. As I mentioned, election year, which also means that costs for advertising are going to be up, and it's going to be a weird one. So getting ahead of it as much as possible in the here and now will be important. And also looking at, like Cheryl mentioned, having enough inventory in stock, because if you're driving demand on the front end through advertising, you want to make sure you have that inventory to be able to fulfill it on the back end. Another piece too that I wouldn't say it's often overlooked, but it's sometimes overlooked for folks that are just getting started or brands that are just getting started is the customer experience and customer success support. So anything that can be automated, like the where's my order and all of those common inquiries, if they can be automated as much as possible, it'll just help streamline operations and reduce cost overall. So ensure staffing is also, effective for peak holiday season too.
Yeah, definitely. I would say at ShipBob, we integrate with Gorgeous to kind of streamline that customer success piece and customer service piece. And where is my order is the number one ticket that merchants are getting. And so to be able to have those answered quickly, leaving the customer happy as well, definitely goes a long way too.
Yeah.
On the ShipBob side, things you can do to manage costs is you want to expand your warehouse network, which can translate into substantial cost savings. So at ShipBob, what we do is we'll take a look at order and customer history, and then we'll place inventory closer to those areas where your customers are living and ordering from. And that just helps achieve quicker and less expensive shipping. So by shipping locally to lower zones and then having our team automatically distribute from our regional hub. So merchants just need to ship to one location, and then we kind of tell them where the best location is to store that inventory in more than one, usually 2 to 3 locations. Really allows you to achieve that quicker shipping for less cost, which 2-day shipping, it's not really a nice to have anymore. It's kind of like table stakes. And so we want to make sure our merchants can offer that and achieve that customer expectation, but also while keeping costs low too. Awesome. Next question we have. So what have you learned from past holiday seasons that have helped you improve your operations while increasing holiday sales? Jen or Corey, I'll start it with you.
Yeah, I have a thought or two here. Over the last years, and Jen's mentioned this, we've learned very consistently that advertising costs are more expensive during holiday seasons, and advertising costs are also more expensive during elections. And when those two converge, those things become very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. The way we can think about it from a tech and an optimization perspective is really looking through are all of our customer paths, are they as optimized as possible? When we think about, if I wanted to double my sales, I can either double the number of clients that come into my pipeline, or I can just simply double the number of clients that are converting. Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier to go from a 1% to a 2% conversion rate than doubling the total number of people that come in. And we talked a little bit about, this pre-planning idea. I'm a firm believer that marketing should not be stressful. It's only stressful when we don't provide that pre-plan and we're not ready for the inevitable changing of the situation. So start now, start thinking about those customer paths, those paths that your consumers are following, and work to optimize those. Use optimization tools to do A/B testing and things like that.
Totally agree. One thing we've kind of learned at ShipBob when it comes to conversion rates too is that shipping promise that you can display on the product page. It kind of all started with Amazon Prime. Before you add anything to the cart, you already see oh, this will be here by Tuesday or whatever it may be. And so adding that kind of shipping promise, they already know what they're getting. There's no surprises when they go to checkout in terms of shipping costs or times. So definitely a good way to convert more shoppers as well. Another thing we've learned is really building a flexible supply chain and how important that is. So I already touched on this a little bit, but Distributing inventory closer to your customers is the first step, making sure your supply chain runs smoothly through the holidays. That's step one, but it's also important to diversify your carrier network. We had an incident a few years ago during peak that a major carrier stopped picking up from our Chicago warehouse due to weather, like totally out of our hands. And we thankfully have relationships with regional carriers that made it easy to resume business as usual without disrupting our merchants' packages, the customers' packages. And so we really learned through distributing inventory not only improves shipping costs and times, but also reduces risk during peak season when it's so important as well. And then Cheryl, I'll leave it to you to finish out this question.
Yeah, I think one of our biggest learnings was we have the most successful sales when we just keep things really simple and also ensure our marketing, if it's like a multi-day sale, is engaging so it makes people want to continue to go back to the website. But if our website looks the same as it did 2 days ago, it's not always as exciting of a storefront. So keep sales super simple, but keep that marketing engaging and driving people back to the website so they keep checking it out because it looks something new.
Definitely. I know the like attraction of a website definitely, like I always joke, like when I'm picking out a bottle of wine or something, I go for like the label and how it looks. So totally agree there. And last question to wrap things up. So what advice would you give to brand operators who are navigating their first peak season? So any trends you're seeing this year that brands should be aware of as they move into peak season? And Cheryl, I'll let you kick this off.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing for a brand new operator is get your project management software up and start making a list. Don't keep it all in memory. The more that you can write down and have almost as a task list or assign to others, it's less that is required on like your brain power. And it's when you're in the midst of a holiday season, it's so easy for things to be forgotten or looked over. So project management software has been key to the operational side of all of our sales.
Definitely. Totally agree. I'm going to go off with my tip. I mean, we've said this so many times on this call, but it's never too early to start planning. So start reaching out to your vendors and carriers to make sure you know their cutoff dates and are communicating that very clearly to your customers and other vendors. Look at last year's demand and begin building your forecast. So it isn't too late to start with a new fulfillment partner. We've helped brands onboard in a week before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, just making sure you're aware, what gaps did you have last year that you can avoid this year by finding some new partners. Overall, just never too early to start planning. And Corey and Jen, I'll pass over to you to wrap up with advice for brands going into peak season.
Yeah, I think for, any new brands, any new operators, anyone who's like, new to the game this holiday season, just ensuring that you have just marketing in every single possible, like putting all your ducks in a row to make sure you're the most successful, essentially. And that's, considering everything from just new checkout options. So the buy now, pay later type of scenarios. You want to be able to meet folks where they're at and not leave anything on the table. Also offering same day, next day delivery. That is the, most popular choice for consumers. So meeting consumers where they're at and just leaving no stone unturned. Also, considering curbside pickup if you have in-store locations too. So just considering just any shopping path, any path for conversion, what that's going to look like, and meeting consumers where they're at. So just, and we've been saying this the whole time, it's never too early to start. So, now's the time to get everything going and to start testing those campaigns for holiday.
And I might throw in one bonus little piece of advice, and that is don't be afraid to test. I think sometimes we make the assumption that once we put something out there and we settle on it, that, hey, we're stuck for a period of whatever that time is. Do A/B testing, run new hero banners, run change, check changes on the buttons and the button locations and colors, and it's okay to run those tests at your busiest times. In fact, sometimes it's preferable to run them at your busiest times because you can get data so much more quickly. If it's working well, don't change a lot, just enough to see, is it really working as well as it should? But don't be afraid to test.
I love that. Yeah, definitely a good time to be testing. And I love, Jen, your point on curbside pickup. We've seen a ton of our brands go back to in-store, whether that's through a retailer or their own, brick and mortar. So definitely a good tip there. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. And thank you to our lovely speakers for joining us as well. Hawke and ShipBob will follow up. If you have any questions about our different services, we're here to help you all through the peak season and want to help plan a seamless peak season with you. So thanks again for joining and have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.